Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we're getting closer and closer to the end of the Muppet Show. This is our penultimate Muppet Show discussion, and this week we'll be discussing the episodes that aired in New York between May 9th and May 23rd of 1981, featuring guests Wally Boag, Buddy Rich, and Marty Feldman, a trio of wacky weird men.
Yep, the wackiest and weirdest of their time.
But first, we have a minor correction to issue here at the beginning of the podcast, which is something I don't think we've ever done. We've probably been wrong about a lot of things, but we've never corrected ourselves. But somebody pointed out that in a previous episode, we said that the movie Xanadu came out in 1975.
Oh my God. I'm not doing this. You can do it. I'm not correcting myself.
But you were wrong.
Let the record show the movie came out in 1980.
That's what I'm saying. You said it came out in 1975. It actually came out in 1980.
I keep forgetting which way I said it wrong.
Yeah, you said it wrong. We just made a big deal in that episode about the fact that Gene Kelly was just lazing around for a few years and wasn't doing much before he was on The Muppet Show. And it turns out, nope, he was actually in Xanadu the exact same year as he went and made The Muppet Show. But before we get into talking about the Muppet Show episodes of the day, Sam, I haven't checked in with you in a while. How are you feeling about the Muppets?
Just the Muppets in general?
In general. You know, I think early on, there was a lot of surprises, a lot of twists and turns that we didn't expect with our Sam and Friends and Ed Sullivan watching. So I feel like we checked in more often about how we felt about the Muppets and what we liked and didn't like about them. But I feel like we haven't just checked in generally about our overall Muppet vibes in a while.
I think I miss when the Muppets referred to the crew of creators who were making these puppet shows and not just this cast of characters. That's what I'm feeling right now.
Well, I got bad news for you, Sam.
I know.
That's going to be the rest of our lives.
It's never going to happen again. I think when Jim goes real weird creative mode in the rest of the 80s, I think maybe it will feel that way a little bit again. But it's very Jim centric now and not as much like, oh, look at these other guys behind the scenes. I feel like is going to be the vibe because he's hosting like the Jim Henson Hour or whatever.
Right. Whereas we had on like the Mike Douglas show where it would be like, hey, this week we have Jim Henson's Muppets here. Yeah. And it would be like Jim and Frank and Rolf would be hanging out. And it felt more of just like this crew of guys coming out to do their puppet shows.
Yeah, I liked that. This batch of episodes actually had a few moments that reminded me kind of the earlier days, which was nice. But I don't know. The Muppet Show has been a bit of a disappointment to me. So I know we're not just talking about the Muppet Show, but like I just feel like some of that sparkle isn't there anymore.
Yeah, I'm very curious to hear some of the other Muppet Show rewatch podcasts out there as they get further into their rewatching. A lot of them are in like season 3 now, so it'll take them a bit to catch up to where we're at. But I'm curious to see what they think of the Muppet Show just overall when they start talking about that, because I think it's interesting to look back at this as, you know, this cultural relic of like this big important show that happened that made the Muppets what they are today, but is best remembered, I think, for moments and not for entire episodes. I think a lot of people growing up had sort of best of VHSs and DVDs, and a lot of the VHS tapes just had individual sketches on them and not best of episodes. And so a lot of people have very fond memories of specific sketches from the Muppet Show, and then only watched sort of the best of the best for the episodes on those DVD collections. So they didn't have to rewatch over and over the bad episodes, which I think is sort of what makes the Muppet Show balance out for us into this thing that's not bad, not the best thing ever, but just sort of like middling a lot of the time.
And they had also never seen a lot of the older stuff, some of which was like truly extremely funny and extremely creative, and they didn't see like the process to get to the Muppet Show, which feels like the process to get there, like the end result wasn't as great as the sum of all of its parts to get there, to me at least.
Like this, the Muppet Show is the culmination of all of the hard work they had put in for, 10, 20 years almost.
Yeah, and it feels a little smaller than the work that they put into it to me.
It definitely is a bit more in a box. Like it's a bit more constrained. Again, not all the time. Specifically in this batch, they do get to do some weird stuff that feels a little bit more old school Muppets. But
Yeah.
Generally, when you stick yourself with a normal cast of characters who have to do a similar thing every week, you're a little bit more in a box than you were back when you could just make random alien Muppets who explode on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah. And when the Muppet Show's good, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking the other day, my favorite thing that we've listened to so far that I still listen to is the Muppet Alphabet album. I think that's so funny. I think that's like the peak of those performers. Like, there's just something about it that's so like charming and lets you in and is so encapsulates it all so well, even though there aren't any puppets involved. But like early Sesame Street in general is, I think, my favorite thing that we watched so far. That feels like the real culmination of everything they had done before to me.
Yeah, and I think they get to be sometimes at least a bit wackier on Sesame Street because, again, they're doing so many hundreds of episodes, and they do just get to like do random little bits here and there with some random whatnot puppets that don't really matter.
Yeah.
It's interesting to watch the Muppets in the way that we've watched the Muppets, which, I'm glad it worked out that way.
I guess that's the whole point of the podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, it could have gone really poorly.
But I still like the Muppets. I like them even better than I did before. I think I like the Muppets that the people think of as the Muppets less than I did before. But I like Jim and this whole like I'm glad I understand it so much better than I did.
I will say, I think, I've always had an affinity for Kermit. Kermit's great, but some of the shine has come off of Kermit as he's been a real jerk in some of these episodes.
Not nice.
But I think it's also lifted up some of these side characters that I just never really thought about too much before.
Yeah.
I even don't really mind in this current iteration, New Zealand, where
I kind of like him all right.
Like when he comes around and he just does his fish act, not a fan. But when he's there doing other stuff, being a flower like he is in this batch of episodes, I'm fine with him being around.
Yeah. He fills a role that's not really filled by anybody else, so that's okay. And Miss Piggy is the one Muppet where I can be like, I totally understand how you are a superstar. Like, she lives up to the hype, I think, more than the other Muppet Show Muppets do.
I think the Electric Mayhem too is one where I think my affinity for them has grown through watching the Muppet Show, but it also makes me realize how little they were actually a part of it. Especially in the later seasons where they show up for like one song a season almost.
Yeah. Or it's just like one of them shows up and
yeah, it's a bummer that we don't get a lot more.
Dr. Teeth barely ever does anything.
Yeah. And, thankfully we're getting a whole show about them pretty soon on Disney Plus. So we'll get a lot of Electric Mayhem content. But it's always interesting just to go back and see how, like, who people latch onto or who people talk about the most and realize that, Animal was around a lot, but the fact that Animal made such an impact with everyone is still somewhat surprising to me.
Yeah. Or like Beaker.
Yeah.
Beaker's like one of the most famous Muppets, but he's not really in that many episodes of the Muppet Show.
No, and I don't really, again, always charming, always fun when he's on. He's got a good moment in one of these episodes we watched this week, but I don't know why he suddenly just becomes the one everyone is like, hell yeah, give me that Beaker t-shirt.
Love that Beaker, yeah. Like the second Muppet a lot of people would name is possibly Beaker, because he's just everywhere.
Yeah.
Kermit and Beaker, the dynamic duo.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you don't hate the Muppets, Sam, because we have a lot more Muppets to watch.
Oh, yeah, and I'm so excited for I'm extremely excited for Post Muppet Show and shocked that I have been as, bored, I guess, by the Muppet Show. as I have been, but there's just so much of it is probably part of it. But I'm excited to see what they build after this.
Well, I think in about 4 podcast episodes from now, we will be in fully post-Muppet Show territory when we discuss The Great Muppet Caper.
But then we do have to watch Muppet Babies, which I am also very deeply dreading.
We've got actually a lot of stuff to watch before we get to Muppet Babies, including Dark Crystal, the first season of Fraggle Rock. We got Rocky Mountain Holiday, Big Bird in China.
Okay.
We got a lot of fun stuff between now and Muppet Babies.
Okay.
And
we have to watch Muppets Take Manhattan before Muppet Babies too, right?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to.
And I've never seen that movie.
I'm very excited. Yeah, I'm very excited for you to watch a movie that you've never watched.
Yeah, me too.
Well, how about we talk about some stuff that we did watch, Sam?
On May 9th, 1981, vaudeville comedian and Disneyland mainstay Wally Boag packed up his balloons and bagpipe and headed to the Muppet Theater. This episode doesn't actually really have any kind of backstage plot, but it does have a theme, vaudeville, which is a little confusing because I think vaudeville is kind of always the theme of the Muppet Show.
Kermit even says that.
Does he?
Yeah, at the beginning, he says something about, like, every week we try to do a real old-fashioned vaudeville show, and this week we're going to succeed.
We're actually trying. So yeah, basically the Muppets and Wally just do the Muppet Show and nothing bad or weird happens. So it's possibly their most successful show yet. Highlights include the theme, in my opinion, though it is confusing to call it a special vaudeville episode. Basically what that means is that the acts come like really fast and frequent, and they're all pretty silly. Even the Flying Zucchini Brothers have a good act, which I would argue should have been like the first thing we ever see the Flying Zucchini Brothers do, is actually do a human cannonball act. But Beaker, Chef, and Animal sing Danny Boy, which is something that I personally feel like I should have hated, but was actually one of my favorite Muppet Show skits. And I really liked all of Wally Boag's acts. He's like Steve Martin, who he was kind of a mentor to, I think, but less pompous. And I was cracking my shit up when he was spitting all those teeth out. I thought that was so funny for some reason. Wally Boag was an entertainer in the vaudeville style who was a touring comedian before being discovered by a Disney employee and recruited to appear in the Golden Horseshoe Revue, which is a vaudeville show at Disneyland's Frontierland, and he performed in that show from sometime in the early 1950s until 1982. He's also Jose, the main bird in the Enchanted Tiki Room.
Which is why it might not surprise you that this episode has a stereotype warning.
Yeah. Wally also apparently discovered Julie Andrews very much by accident while performing in London. He called a 12-year-old up and she sang beautifully and everybody was stunned, and that was Julie Andrews. And then according to Wikipedia, he had her for a couple more shows in London when he was there. And then they got together again at Disneyland when she was grown up and famous, and they like did another act together, which is really cute.
Wild.
We talked a little bit about Wally Boag before the show started, but he was like Walt Disney's favorite comedian, and he kept trying to make him a star. But then when Walt Disney died, he didn't really get he was supposed to be like Tigger and Winnie the Pooh, and then Walt Disney died and they replaced him as the voice of Tigger. So I guess everybody else didn't like him as much as Walt Disney did, but he seemed like he did all right for himself in the end. Next, May 16th, 1981, legendary drummer Buddy Rich visits the Muppets, and so too do persistent electrical issues. Gonzo installed air conditioning in his closet to keep his mold collection cool, but he blew a fuse, so the lights keep going out intermittently, ruining acts and not allowing Buddy to play the drums. After Bo fails to fix the issue, which comes as a surprise to no one, Bunsen wheels out an invention he thinks may help, a generator that's powered by Beaker running on a giant hamster wheel. This does the trick, especially after a tiger is unleashed in the wheel to help motivate Beaker, and Buddy and Animal are able to finish the show off with a drum battle. Highlights include the opening act, Good Day Sunshine, which is a rarity in that it features all of the popular Muppets in one skit instead of a bunch of pigs, and is also very solid. The drum battle at the end is terrific. Muppet News features Crazy Harry for the first time in a billion years, and is also genuinely funny. Bo even gets a good moment with Buddy in a dressing room musical number. So even Bo is doing it okay in this episode. And this episode is also fairly unique in that it consistently features a lot of the main Muppets interacting in a way that we weirdly don't really see that much. Like there's a scene where Fozzie, Kermit, Gonzo, and Scooter all are like interacting with each other in one backstage scene. And that basically never happens. Like Kermit, Gonzo, and Fozzie, I feel like haven't talked to each other since they were like kidnapped by the pigs, maybe. Buddy Rich was a drummer from birth, first appearing on stage as Baby Traps, the Drum Wonder, in 1921 at the age of 4.
What?
From then, yeah.
All right.
He was on Broadway as a baby. From then on, he's been his whole life leading bands, doing session drumming, getting in fistfights with Frank Sinatra, and teaching judo in the Marines. So he had like this big, crazy golden age of Hollywood, like showbiz life is pretty much his whole story. Finally, on May 23rd, 1981, comedian and British person Marty Feldman is the guest star, and the whole night is devoted to a retelling of 1001 Arabian Nights, starring Marty in the role of the narrator. And that's basically all that happens. They just kind of do the whole show, and it's great. Highlights include most of the acts. For some reason, it really got me specifically when Kermit, who is playing Sinbad the Sailor, and his band of frogs start singing Surfin' USA. I thought that was so funny. And Marty is perfect with the Muppets and is super present in like every scene. He's basically there in every scene, which is great. And then the Sesame Street gang shows up at the end. It's just a really solid episode. Marty Feldman was a British actor and comedian, best known in America at least as Igor in the 1974 movie Young Frankenstein, for whom the part was written. But he was already well known in England by the time that Young Frankenstein came out, having appeared in numerous TV sketch shows and then in a bunch of British comedy films after Young Frankenstein came out. He kind of stayed a movie star in England. His distinctive eyes were, according to Wikipedia, a result of Graves' disease, but also a childhood injury, a car crash, a boating accident, and reconstructive surgery all contributed to his look as well. He had a very eventful childhood, it seems like.
And they all affected his eyes?
I think he kept getting in accidents where he had to have facial reconstructive surgery, is what it seemed like.
Unfortunate.
Sadly, Marty would die in 1982 of a heart attack.
I found some very cute pictures of little Buddy Rich as Traps.
You mean
the Drum
Baby
Wonder.
Traps the Drum Wonder?
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's so cute.
He's standing next to a drum that's like literally as big as him.
And you know what? I would have imagined him wearing a little sailor suit.
And
that's
he
exactly
is.
what he's wearing.
Yep.
Baby Traps the Drum Wonder. It's it's like a Simpson joke or something.
It feels like like a porcelain doll my mom would buy out of a catalog.
Yeah. These are precious moments come to life.
The only other things really happening in Jim Henson's world around this time, according to Jim's Red Book, is that on May 20th, 1981, The Muppets Go to the Movies airs.
I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that next week because it airs during this same chunk of time, but we want to devote a whole episode to it. And on May 21st and 22nd, it's noted in Jim's journal that he went and saw the play Nicholas Nickleby, based on the Dickens novel. And Jim's Red Book notes that this was perhaps Jim's most ambitious attendance as an audience member because the show ran 8.5 hours over 2 evenings.
Oh, no.
So you go one day, you got 4 hours of play. You go the next day, and you watch the next 4.5 hours of play.
He didn't see it twice.
No.
It was a 2-day long play.
Yes, the intermission is your day. Like, you're like, leave, come back. We're not going to make you sit here for 8.5 hours.
Wow, I wonder if he liked it.
Yeah, who knows? But that is, it was worth noting in his journal, so maybe he did. But going back to May 9th, 1981, the Wally Boag episode of The Muppet Show. Sam, what did you rate this one?
I rated this one 5 stars.
Ooh, it got 4.5 stars from me. Because I don't think I enjoyed the man, Wally Boag, as much as you did.
Oh, I loved him.
I enjoyed this episode a lot. But like everything but Wally is some of my favorite Muppet Show stuff we've ever seen. And Wally himself is like not my favorite.
Okay, fair enough. He just is so strange. I can't stop looking at him, you know?
It's worth noting, I'm pretty sure all 3 of these episodes have a stereotype content warning at the beginning of them on Disney Plus for various reasons that we can mention when they come up, but just so you know. And also, all 3 of these episodes have something missing from them on Disney Plus, some way more obvious than others.
Yeah.
But if you want to find these, some of them might be out there on the internet individually, but I found a compilation that someone made and put on YouTube last year called Muppet Show Sketches Missing from Disney Plus. That is like a 25-minute long compilation of all of the things that were cut out of the Muppet Show on Disney Plus. And so it's a weird roundabout thing where you kind of have to go on Muppet Wiki, look up what was cut, or I guess listen to us. We'll tell you what was cut. And then you can go watch it in that compilation.
Great compilation.
It's very helpful. And I hope it's online for a long time, but cannot guarantee that by the time you're listening to this, it's still on the internet.
Disney's on your ass.
They won't post it, but they don't want you to post it either.
Yeah.
So we learn at the beginning of this episode that, usually Pops doesn't know the guest star until they remind him. That's still true in this one, except he has a history with Wally Boag. But Pops mentions that he was a doorman in Pittsburgh for a while, which just sort of adds to the belief that the theater could be in Pennsylvania somewhere.
Everywhere in that part of the country is really close to each other.
And then the opening number, as Sam mentioned, is the Flying Zucchini Brothers in perhaps their best performance we've ever seen. It's interesting that they shoot them straight up in the air. Like, there's not even really...
Yeah.
They're not trying to
think
shoot
it all the way through, really.
They're not trying to shoot them into a net or across a ravine or something. It's just aim these 5 guys up in the air, shoot them, see what happens.
Yep.
And yeah, I like this a lot. I also like that Kermit is extremely frustrated that it was so
Yeah.
short. Like his producer brain is kicking in and he's like, guys, we're going to be short on time in this episode.
That was nothing, yeah.
So to fill time, he sends out Lottie Lemon and her singing wig. The Muppet.
Finally, we see her.
The reveal that we saw Lottie Lemon in the background of the Gene Kelly episode and had no freaking clue who this Muppet was. Turns out this is who she is. Welcome, this is Lottie Lemon in her singing wig, who sings Just Squeeze Me. And, unfortunately for them, maybe not for us, they only get through a few lines of the song before the Zucchini Brothers fall back to earth, right on top of Lottie Lemon and her wig.
And then the Muppet of the Week this week is Lottie Lemon.
No! Because, this is the only time we will see Lottie Lemon again. Like, we won't see Lottie Lemon after this. We've only seen the 2 appearances of Lottie Lemon. But it is worth noting that they, if we want to do like mini Muppet of the Week, Lottie Lemon's performers were Louise Gold and Kathy Mullen. Louise Gold was Lottie Lemon and Kathy Mullen was the singing wig.
2 ladies in one skit.
Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
Maybe a record for
That might actually
the Muppet
be
Show.
a record. Yeah. Or for the Muppets ever.
Then we have Wally Boag, who, he's going to do all the stuff he did at Disneyland now on TV.
Have you seen the episode of the Mickey Mouse Club that's on Disney Plus? There's like 2 or 3
No,
maybe
I have not.
episodes. One of them has him, and he does this word for word exact same thing 30 years earlier. But you know what? I forgive him.
Well,
It's a good act.
This is the thing he did for like literally, he did it like 40,000 times at Disneyland. So, this is all that his brain has. This is everything in his brain is these words, and he can't learn anything new.
Oh, no.
But he comes out guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
Shooting a gun.
Which is because that's what he does in the Golden Horseshoe Review.
Right, yeah. For those that don't know, the Golden Horseshoe Review is a show that happens at Disneyland.
I don't know.
I know it shut down during COVID because it's a lot of like audience interaction, and I don't know if it came back at all.
I think it's at Disney World, but I don't think it's still at Disneyland.
Okay. But then Wally Boag does his balloon bit where basically he talks about how people's personalities affect how they blow up balloons.
Why did you hate him so much?
I just don't find him funny. I don't hate him.
Oh.
I just I think it's very similar to Steve Martin, which like is on purpose a bit from Steve Martin's point of view. But as far as like his style goes, it feels like somebody hired him to come like to a corporate event sort of thing, and all of us are looking around like, why is this happening?
Yeah, but the good thing about him is that he knows that. And then my favorite part about him is that while he's doing this like very cliche almost kind of act, in between his lines he's got like little like cries for help basically. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I can't think of any of them right now, but he's just like, it's like Fozzie, who's like, I'm so lonely. He kind of says like Fozzie Bear things intermittently. So he is almost like anti-comedy too, in a way that kind of like when I saw this, I was like, Steve Martin really directly just kind of took some of this stuff. and did it poorly, but kind of maybe that partially, he did it poorly on purpose,
Yeah.
which kind of maybe misses the point of like doing it well, but also knowing it's stupid is just as transgressive as like doing it bad and talking about how stupid it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because Steve Martin's whole thing is like, we all know this is dumb. Look
Yeah.
at the dumb thing I'm doing, everyone.
Yeah.
And like Wally Boag is more like somebody who's trying really hard to impress
Yeah.
you, but knows he's failing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And which is literally what Fozzie is, now that I think about it more.
Something that he does later on in the episode, I just could barely watch. So I think overall the Wally Boagness.
Was it the bagpipes?
Yes, it was.
The bagpipes is tough. I will agree that the bagpipes is hard.
But I think that just soured the episode a little bit for me overall.
Uh-huh.
I will say at this point I was not enjoying him. It's one of those things where, again, when somebody comes on the Muppet Show and only does the stuff that they're already known for doing, it feels like a little bit of a disconnect.
This feels like they told him to do that to me,
Oh,
though,
absolutely. I don't begrudge him for that. I think it is a choice that they made for the episode. But I think there's just a different feeling to the episodes when, one, there's not really a plot to the episode.
Yeah.
And what the person is doing doesn't really affect the Muppets at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's just kind of doing what he would do otherwise, and the Muppets are nearby.
I think this is my favorite episode of the Muppet Show. So you had an episode that you liked best that was just like straight up Muppet Show.
Mac
You know what I'm talking
Davis.
about? Yeah. This is my Mac Davis episode, because this feels so much to me like what the show should be, kind of, in a way. Like the guest star, I think interaction is maybe a little bit lacking, but just like all this, there's just something about all the skits.
Oh, I totally
They're all
agree.
very-
That's why
they're all
this
very
still got
simple.
a 4.5 stars for me, is because everything else we're going to talk about with this episode is some of the best Muppet Show stuff we've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, even the opening two numbers, where the Flying Zucchini Brothers and Lottie Lemon feel very chaotic, very fast-paced. They interact with each other, like top-notch Muppet Show sketches.
And I just think them keeping in mind that it's a variety show that takes place on stage feels like it made a bunch of difference. Like everything feels like it could be happening on a stage in front of you.
Yeah, especially the next number, where Piggy has a non-singing number that she's going to do, which is a twist, a different thing here. But this is Piggy and Foo-Foo the Wonder Dog. And, in the beginning, we get the real dog coming out. And
It's a very talented dog as well.
Very talented dog. It walks up a ramp. But at this point, it switches over to the puppet dog. And we attempt to have the dog do math, which turns out to be a little too hard for Foo-Foo.
I gotta hand it to him. Foo-Foo and the puppet do look like the real dog and the puppet. They do look a lot alike. They kind of did a good job.
Yeah, I think we shit on them once for, I think it was in the Muppet Show newsletter where they were like, can you guess which one's the real dog? And it was like, yeah, you fools.
I mean, you can. They shouldn't overplay it that much, but the other thing they said was like, we've rebuilt this puppet multiple times to match the dog. But they do really look alike now.
Yeah, they keep rebuilding it. That's somebody's full-time job, is to just keep building Foo-Foo. It's like, this dog keeps growing, God damn it.
Are you going to use Foo-Foo in this episode? No, sorry. Oh, okay.
I built a 2-year-old Foo-Foo puppet for no reason. But then the act is interrupted by Gaffer the Cat, who I guess is trying to get Foo-Foo. Yeah, this is the most sort of action we have seen from Gaffer so far. We had the Cat Came Back number, but this is the most sort of character, which is maybe a stretch to say, that we've seen from Gaffer.
Just a cat, I guess.
Yeah.
Is the character. I'm not sure if it's this one or a later one, but I did notice in the background that Gaffer has lick his butt action. He can lift his leg up like a cat does. Did you see him do that?
I did not, but kudos to the realistic energy of a cat.
Yeah.
Then we get something that I think many people have seen a bunch of times on Twitter and on YouTube around St. Patrick's Day specifically. It's shocking to me that it's hidden in a UK spot, which I'd never realized. Because there's other stuff in this episode that I feel like should have definitely been the UK spot instead. But this is the Leprechaun Brothers, portrayed by Beaker, Swedish Chef, and Animal, singing Danny Boy. And the joke is, we can't understand them because they're the Muppets we can't really understand.
And they've done this joke before, I think, but for some reason, it just really works here.
Oh, this is like peak Muppets. Not just
Yeah.
peak Muppet Show, not just the peak of this episode. This is like peak all-time Muppets.
Yeah.
And, you know, Swedish Chef kind of is the weak link, I think, of the three. Because Animal's performance is so good when he's just getting exhausted and just going, Daddy, Daddy.
Yeah.
But then Beaker's lovely falsetto that he sings with, just a fan, freaking tastic. And then we're staying in that region of the country with heading up to Scotland now with the Highland Fling is the next act, featuring Wally Boag and a set of Muppet bagpipes, which he calls a bag bird at one point because it does have big long bird legs like a flamingo and just some eyes on it. But oh boy, is this just a guy playing bagpipes poorly.
This is another one he does on the Mickey Mouse Club. So this is another one of his mainstay things. Not with a Muppet. It's just a regular bagpipe and that. So there's a little change here. But yeah, like beat for beat exactly the same.
That makes me like it even less, which is surprising that I could.
It is funny that he still thought the bagpipes were funny 30 years later. I don't really know I guess I don't know what the joke of this is, except that the bagpipes sound bad.
I think that's the joke.
Is that it?
I
suppose if you're a child at Disneyland and he does this, maybe you're like, oh my God, comedy genius.
Look how unhappy my parents are right now. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I do like the little touches, again, similar to his last act where there's like those little in-between moments.
Yeah.
There's a few moments in between where he's interacting with the bag bird as if it is a Muppet that are pretty well done.
Yeah.
But just everything between that is a guy just playing bagpipes really badly.
Yeah.
Which is, I had to turn down my TV so far to even get through this sketch.
He's a pro. You don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know real art when I see it. Real art where he plays Frere Jacques and Three Blind Mice. Somebody who learned how to play 2 songs in the bagpipes 30 years ago.
There is something indefinably pure comedy about this, in my opinion. If there's no effort involved at all, yet it's still funny. And that's the trick, you know?
I see, this is one for me where I think the split happens where Steve Martin can play the banjo really, really well.
Yeah, but that's try-hard loser shit.
See, I was going to say I prefer that because it's actually like I can tolerate some good banjo as opposed to bad bagpipes, which are, even when bagpipes are played well, are somewhat insufferable.
You can't really be that close to him, can you?
But then Kermit comes out at the end of the sketch to introduce the next thing, unless you're watching this on Disney+. Because then Kermit walks out, and then it cuts to Wally Boag backstage with Pops. So if you go and track down what actually comes next in the episode, Kermit comes out and introduces a very special lullaby in gibberish, which is the Ying Tong song written by...
A concerning title for a Muppet Show act.
Correct. And this, it feels offensive, but I'm not sure towards who or if it is. It feels like it's trying to be, but actually isn't. I don't know. It's written by Spike Milligan, which isn't entirely surprising. This should have been the UK spot.
Yeah, because it's a British thing, and it's one of the most British things I've ever seen.
And it's bad. It's like
it's bad.
It's the low point in this episode by far. And so again, if you're watching this on Disney Plus, you're not really missing anything. This is apparently it was for The Goon Show, which was a British radio comedy, which featured Spike Milligan and Peter Sellers. And yeah, Ying Tong Italy Po, I don't know how to say it, was like a recurring phrase on the show. And they also had other silly catchphrases like Needle Nardle New. And so this is just the way they talked on that show. This is like their thing was just like nonsense. So it makes a lot of sense that this would come from that.
Nobody except British people would ever know that. So it makes no sense that they wouldn't have made this the UK spot.
Yeah. But then again, if you're watching on Disney Plus, this is what you would have just cut to. Wally is backstage with Pops and lets Pops know, hey, I'm going to step outside in the alley, get some fresh air. And Pops, for some reasons, sees this as an opportunity to leave his
This
post.
is weird. Yeah. He's like, oh, you can watch the... Oh, I remember figuring this out. He's just going to be standing out the door.
Right.
So
Pops' whole job is to stop the people who come in that door to see what they need. So if Wally's going to be right outside the door, he can just watch the door from out there.
Yeah. It is a confusing conceit, though.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm going to go outside. Cool. I'm going to leave.
I'm leaving, yeah. I had to watch it twice before I was like, okay, I guess this makes sense.
But
there is no real implication. Like, Wally could be walking around the block for all Pops knows.
That's very true. He doesn't say, I'm just going to step right outside the door.
Yeah.
But Pops wants to leave his post so that he can go enjoy the show for once. Something that he does not normally get to do. So he can go sit in the audience. And what he's going to be watching is Dr. Salamander, Hypnotist and Newt. This Dr. Salamander, the puppet, was previously a random character in the Marisa Berenson episode who was wearing leopard print and performed by Steve Whitmire.
Oh, he was like, the lizard that Steve Whitmire was like, this lizard's a star.
Yeah, I think we referred to him as the Poochie of the Muppets.
Yeah, he's like the first Muppet that shows up on the Muppet Show who looks like he should be in the 80s.
Yeah, he looked way too cool, lasted one moment, and disappeared forever. He had a different look then. He had some sunglasses on. He didn't have his big frog eyes like he has in this. And wasn't quite as confusing of a character, surprisingly, because is this guy a newt or is he a salamander?
Oh my gosh. You just blew it wide open.
Boom.
Who knows?
Look at that. Take that, Muppet Show.
They didn't have the internet back then. They couldn't look up if those were different things. I'm not even sure if those are different things.
They are different things.
Okay. Probably not much different, though.
I mean, they might be as different as like dogs and cats in that they're 4 legs and furry.
A newt is a salamander in the subfamily something.
Is that true?
So, yeah.
Oh.
A newt's a species of salamander.
Well, all right then.
Do
Look
your
at me.
research, Matt.
I saw a video that said newts versus salamanders, what's the difference? And I was like, well, clearly they're 2 different things. I didn't watch the video.
Yeah, if you had watched the video, it would have said none. A newt is a salamander.
It's a 2-second long video. Same thing.
You really got to put stuff like that in the headline. Look, folks, we got 2 corrections to issue this episode.
1, Xanadu came out in
Unfortunately.
1980. 2, newts are salamanders, I guess.
We're both really sorry, I guess.
So Dr. Salamander, who is a hypnotist and newt, apparently is both a newt and a salamander.
Well, and should have just been Gonzo, in my opinion.
I mean, he does sound a lot
Sounds
like
exactly
Gonzo.
like Gonzo and moves exactly like Gonzo.
Yeah, he is performed by Dave Goelz here, who, weirdly, it kind of sounds more like modern-day Gonzo than 80s Gonzo.
Old man Gonzo.
Yeah. But yeah, I like Dr. Salamander, even though he's obviously performed by Dave Goelz, is a little Gonzo-y. I like, it sort of feels like Dave Goelz is Marvin Suggs.
Yeah, I liked him too. He's very fleshed out for what he is, in a way that a lot of other Muppets that make one appearance aren't. Does he ever show up again?
No.
No.
This is the one
That's
and only.
kinda too bad.
Yeah. It's the one and only real appearance of Dr. Salamander. I believe
Having a hypnotist is like a big gap in the vaudeville vibe, like having like kind of like a stage magician type guy. They don't have that.
No, it's nice though. It's a good fit. But Pops is sitting in the crowd and gets picked to be the volunteer for this hypnotist act. And he does float Pops up to the ceiling, which is not a thing I necessarily realized hypnotists could do.
Well, you know what? I didn't think of that, but all right.
But he floats him up to the ceiling through levitation. But unfortunately, Pops is hard of hearing, and so he cannot wake him up. So Pops just keeps floating away.
And smashes into the lights, which was kind of scary.
Yeah. There's a moment where Kermit runs out, and he goes to yell at Pops, and I think there's a little bit of a blooper.
He calls him Doc.
Well, so I think he just says like "da," because to me, I think he says like "wake up, da," but he like stops a little bit, like he cuts himself off, and so I'm wondering if he went to say Pops, almost said Dr. Salamander, and so it just kind of came out "da."
Oh, my perception of it was that he just thinks Pop's name is Doc, like Jim does. He doesn't really care that much.
Well, I watched it back with the captions on, and they didn't even include the noise or anything. It just says "wake up."
Oh, they don't include the pops.
No. There's no pops, there's no doc, there's no da. It just says wake up. So they didn't know what to do with it either.
He does look like a doc.
Oh, I could totally see him being a doc. He probably has a brother named Doc who looks exactly like him, but has like
a doctor outfit on.
Yeah, he has a beard instead of a mustache.
Yeah.
I just realized, and maybe this is something we've even mentioned before, but Pops and Brewster share some DNA, I think.
They do. I never noticed that. Yeah, you're right.
Especially on Muppet Wiki, there's a picture of him like right after he has fallen, where he's just sort of waking up, and he's got a definite Brewster energy going on there.
Yeah, he's a less loathsome Brewster. Still loathsome in his own way, but
a less problematic Brewster.
Yeah,
but definitely looks quite
Brewster's
a bit
sleepy too, isn't he? Isn't Brewster always falling asleep also?
I think so.
Yeah.
Then it is time for Wally Boag's famous Western sketch, which he's going to do on stage with the help of many a Muppet, specifically Annie Sue, dressed up in some, what's that called? Western
I don't know.
Cowboy bar.
Old-time Western performing lady outfit.
That's the one. You know, the feather on the head. The
kick line kind of like, what the fuck is that? I have no idea.
Western cowboy girl costume.
Saloon girl.
Saloon girl, I bet is what it's called. You nailed it.
Let's see, is that right?
Saloon girl. You're absolutely right, Sam. Good job. So Annie's in the Saloon Girl is there. And they're going to sing Pecos Bill. And Rolf's there. They got an audience in the background as well. This is where it earns its content warning in this episode. Because in the song, he has a verse about Native Americans where he uses the name of a recently renamed football team to refer to them over and over. Which, again, that's why it got its warning. But this, otherwise, is a very enjoyable number.
Yes. At one point, he gets punched in the face and starts spitting out hundreds and hundreds of teeth, which I thought was hilarious. And I don't know. It just was very funny to me.
Yeah, another thing he would do at Disneyland. I
can't imagine him doing that. Like, the teeth must have been flying into the audience, right?
There's a very good moment you can look up and watch on YouTube where he does this, where he spits out a tooth, and then there's like two guys in like an orchestra pit area who basically play ping pong with his tooth. Like, they have paddles, and they like bounce it back and forth.
They're not doing this post-COVID, you know?
Yeah, you can't spit your teeth into the audience after COVID.
He's so good at spitting teeth out as well.
Yeah,
he can make
right.
him go any direction he wants.
I was very impressed by the ones that like went up, but like doesn't. He's not putting a lot of effort into like looking up or aiming up. Somehow he just is like, ding. There's one moment during this too where he takes off his hat and reveals his bald head under his
wig comes
toupee.
off with his hat. Yeah.
Which is like one of those things where early on when he first shows up, I'm like, that man is wearing a toupee.
Yeah. But he knows, you know, that's the whole thing. He knows. He knows, you know. This is probably like amongst my favorite guest associated acts that they've done.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It still was. I don't like Wally Boag as much as you like Wally Boag, which is the only reason this got 4.5 stars instead of 5. And then at the end, Kermit offers to pay Wally's dental bill, but he said no worries, he can grow his teeth back.
He grows them back fast.
Well, and when Kermit says like, well, how do you do that? Wally grabs Rizzo and conks him on the head.
Knocks all his teeth out. Yeah.
Which doesn't really show, you know, how he grows them back so fast. No. And also, what if Rizzo can't grow them back that fast?
Yeah. I think maybe mice actually can grow their teeth back, so I think he's all right. Rats and mice, maybe they can. I don't know.
I have no idea. Much like newts and salamanders, my knowledge of rat.
I won't be looking that one up. Yeah. I don't care.
That'll be a correction a few episodes from now. And now it's time for the May 16th, 1981 episode of The Muppet Show featuring Buddy Rich. What'd you rate this episode, Sam?
Man, I gave this one a big 5 stars.
Wowza! I gave this one 3 stars. Buddy Rich, I dislike even more than Wally Boag.
Oh, I didn't love Buddy Rich. I really liked the song he sings with Beauregard, though. That salvaged him a lot in my eyes.
Gotcha, okay. Well, let's get into it then. Buddy Rich, again, who's the greatest jazz drummer in the world, which, you know, to be fair, he's a very good drummer from what we've seen in this episode.
An interesting thing on his Wikipedia, I don't know how true this is, but is that like this appearance on the Muppet Show was one of the most like the biggest exposure I think he got to like a wide audience.
And I feel like that's sort of the fact for Wally Boag as well, where he was really famous in certain circles, but outside of Disneyland, he was not like a household name.
Right.
But the episode opens up, and this is where I immediately start to go, I don't know about this guy. Because there's just a joke that I don't feel like makes any sense.
I don't get it.
Okay, cool.
I forgot I didn't get this joke.
I'm glad I'm not alone. So Buddy Rich is coming in, and the lights are flickering, and he asks him, "What was that? Somebody testing my chair?" Which I imagine is the electric chair.
It's an electric chair joke, but why?
Yeah. Well, great question. And Pop says, "No, we're having power troubles." And then Buddy's response is, "Good, I just won't sit down." Which I don't...
that response makes even less sense than the concept.
Yes. And like I was okay with the initiation of the electric chair joke of like, okay, haha, you're here. It's a dangerous place. Someone's going to put you in an electric chair.
Seems like an old man joke to make.
Yes.
Maybe too.
And it feels like the most old man thing to keep going with the joke, even when the person you're telling the joke to didn't set you up properly for the payoff.
Yeah. Okay, Grandpa.
Yeah, good. I just won't sit down. And thankfully we cut to the theme song instead of Pops going, "What?
What?
What do you mean by that?" But yeah, I was watching with my wife, and she like looked at me and was like, "What does that mean?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I rewound it and we rewatched it to be like, "Nope, yep, I don't think that makes sense."
For as bad as some of the jokes can be on the Muppet Show, there aren't very many times where they literally make no sense.
Right?
So.
Yeah. Usually they're just corny, cheesy, like poorly. Like it's a stretch of how you got from here to there. This one feels like it stretched so far it broke, and it just makes zero sense. But yes, the lights do keep going on and off throughout this episode, but thankfully they stay on just long enough for us to start our opening number, which is Good Day Sunshine with Farmer Fozzie here in his cute little overalls and his straw hat. And there's cute flower versions of the Muppets in the background featuring Scooter, Gonzo, Rizzo, Lou, Annie, Floyd, and Janice.
Gonzo looks so good in his little outfit.
He looks like a koosh ball. He's like an alien flower.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they blow a fuse, which, spoiler alert, is Gonzo's fault. And the lights go out. And Kermit, still in his producer mode in this episode, wants them to keep singing, keep performing. And so Fozzie, really on his toes here.
He is,
starts singing, dancing in the dark.
And then everybody has flashlights, and they're whipping them around.
Yeah, well, they bring out the flashlights for them. And
him and Scooter go get flashlights.
Well, and he comes back with Beaker, and Beaker has like 4 flashlights with him and is like handing them out to people. It's very cute.
That was a big part of why I like this one so much, is because it's like, it also delves into like, it's actually a stage show, and it feels like it. Yeah,
they're all working together, like one solid goal of like, fix the lights. And then Beauregard nearly dies.
Yeah, so close. I think we've proven before that he is actually indestructible. I feel like we've talked about the immortality of Beauregard before.
That seems like something we talk about for a while. Yeah. But he's had many things dropped on his head and seemed perfectly fine. So I was not too concerned when he's trying to fix the fuse box and it explodes in his face and throws him off of a ladder.
Yeah, a normal man would be killed instantly, but we're not so lucky.
A normal puppet might even be killed instantly because there's a giant flame that ignites.
That's true. Yeah.
This feels like one of those of just like, let's try this out and see what happens. We might be destroying a Bo puppet today. But when Kermit can't figure out what to put on stage because of the blackout, Gonzo recommends the Black Cat Acrobats of Kankakee. Sam, do you know where Kankakee is?
I don't.
It's in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, about 15 minutes from where I went to high school.
Okay.
Kankakee was like the town where I went to see concerts and movies. And
it was a big city to you, huh?
I mean, sadly, a little bit. It was like if you had to go to a big box store, you had to drive to Kankakee.
This is a really good Gonzo moment, too. Because obviously it would be too dark to see the Black Cat acrobat.
Yeah, and Kermit says, they're not here. And Gonzo says, no one will ever notice. Yeah, it felt like a good... sort of solid version of Gonzo that we've seen. I don't know. He always nowadays, I feel like this is more the Gonzo we see, where he feels like he's
Harebrained
helping out.
schemes.
Yeah. But he has a great idea in his head that he thinks is going to solve all the problems, and everyone else is like, that's the worst freaking thing we've ever heard of, Gonzo.
Yeah.
But sure, maybe we can try it. But then we have an actually good Muppet news flash, as Sam mentioned earlier, because Crazy Harry shows up for the first time in a long time. This is one of his 2 season 5 appearances that he'll be making. We'll be talking about one the next time we talk about the Muppet Show. But he only made 1 appearance in season 4, and he only made 4 appearances in season 3.
Wow.
So he went from being a mainstay of early Muppet stuff all the way back to like the Muppets Valentine's Show and the Muppets Sex and Violence, and then was really in a lot of season 1 and 2, and then just kind of vanished.
He does get a whole episode basically about him when Gene Stapleton is on.
Yeah, because she loves him.
He gets a swan song, and then, but yeah, I was like genuinely shocked to see him pop up.
Well, I feel like I feel like he sticks around a lot, and he ends up just like popping up a little bit in everything they do from here on out.
Right.
So Crazy Harry doesn't really go away. He's just not as prevalent as he was in season 1 and 2, which again, I'm fine with because he's not my favorite. And when used sparingly, like in this news flash, I think he works perfectly.
Yeah.
Because he interrupts the news flash because the news man has a small candle on his desk and he requests a bigger candle. And Crazy Harry comes out delivering a surprisingly dynamite-shaped candle to the newsman, which he chuckles and walks away. And of course, it explodes.
It really explodes too.
Yeah, this is, again, some like early season 1 type Muppet Show stuff where a big old explosion on stage, Crazy Harry's there. It's a
The
nice
desk
little...
is blown to smithereens.
Yeah.
Would a bigger candle actually give you any more light, though? You'd need more candles, right?
Yeah, or more wicks, or
Yeah.
a bigger wick or something.
I don't know how they work exactly, but
Yeah, adding wax would not make it
yeah.
like a bigger flame. Then Kermit goes back to Buddy Rich's dressing room, where it is revealed that Buddy Rich is a bad actor.
Oh, plenty of other musicians have been bad actors on the Muppet Show.
Yeah, to me, I think what felt off about this episode is that I think the writing is good for Buddy. And I think his delivery of the good jokes and good lines is so bad that it makes me dislike him more.
Oh, that makes sense.
Where I'm like, oh, in somebody else's mouth, that line could have been funny.
You don't, it's like, you got a good episode, buddy. That's
Right.
rarer than you think.
Yeah, everything else around him is great. And if this was somebody else, like I feel like, like Linda Ronstadt or somebody delivering these same kinds of lines, be perfect.
Yeah.
But Kermit asks Buddy when he can do his number and if he needs to let the band know or need to get a drum kit. And Buddy's like, I don't need that shit. I can drum right here, right now.
When they said that, it also made me think that when the guest stars walk in for the show, it's not like they have like rehearsals or anything like that. The guest stars are literally walking in for the very first time and then just being like, what am I doing tonight?
Well, and they start the show before they even check in.
Yeah.
The show has started. Your act is coming up. Do you need drums, Mr. Drummer? It does prove to be false. He says he doesn't need a drum kit, but he does end this number at a drum kit, but not before impressively drumming on everything in sight, from lamps to Bunsen Honeydew to desks. Yeah, this feels like a show-off thing that Buddy Rich probably did in real life, maybe.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, greatest drummer ever, yeah. I'll show you. I can drum right here on your head.
Yeah, it seems like something he's done a million times before. But it was good. It was a fun little moment. And I like the ending when he's finally at his drum set and the lights go off.
Yeah.
It was a good end to it.
Right as he reaches the drums, about to play the drums, lights go out. And you can't play the drums in the dark. That's a known fact.
Yeah, apparently. I guess you can't. It does seem like maybe you'd be able to.
I mean, you should be able to, I think.
Yeah.
But I did like that. It sort of seemed like he didn't, or they probably told him not to worry about the set. There's things he's drumming on the Muppet Show set that I'm like, no one's ever touched that since they built this set.
Yeah.
And
Don't
things
break it, please.
fall down. There's parts that fall off of things, and he just keeps going and going.
He like bends something on like a big panel of bells or something, and one of them just like gets bent.
Yeah.
Be careful, buddy.
But then Scooter kind of, sort of. He came up with a solution to the problem of the power outage.
This is probably the worst idea he's ever had.
Yeah, and for him to present it to Kermit as if this is a fully fleshed out idea of like, hey, boss, I solved all of our problems.
Yeah.
I stuck a light bulb in Beauregard's mouth, and it glows a little bit.
It's almost like when Beauregard walks out, you can see Scooter, like, see the idea from Kermit's eyes, and is like, okay.
Oh, shit, I'm already here. I guess I have to tell the truth. But yeah, this isn't even like an Uncle Fester level of glowing light bulb in the mouth thing. I could barely tell that was supposed to be on.
It's glowing.
No. But they say it is.
Seem like a hard thing to do.
How would you do it, Sam? How would you do it?
You could just wire a wire through Beauregard's mouth and have a fully lit light bulb in his mouth, right?
I guess he's not a person.
Yeah, you can drill a hole in him.
You could just make a Beauregard lamp.
Yeah. How did Uncle Fester do it? He was doing it. You could see in black and white that light bulb was lighting up.
Yeah.
You know?
I think they had like a special push button thing in his mouth.
I think his mouth, yeah.
Then we go back to Buddy Rich's
It's a
dressing.
lost technology, actually. Nobody knows how Uncle Fester did that.
It died with him.
Yeah.
But then we go back to Buddy Rich's dressing room where he delivers one of those lines where I'm like, again, somebody else. Because there's candles all around lighting up his dressing room. And he says, why do I get the urge to sing happy birthday?
I hate this term, but that was cringy.
Yeah.
Bo has the first line that I've ever really laughed at a Bo line, I think, when he's like, oh, I feel so sad. I'm gonna go take a nap. Unless you know an inspirational song. And that made me laugh.
Yeah. He's very sad, presumably because his plan of putting a light bulb in his mouth wasn't a very good one, but also because he nearly died earlier. And so, yeah, Buddy Rich sings him a song saying, hey, you shouldn't be sad. You could always be dead.
Today you're laying face down on the ground. Tomorrow you could be laying face down in the sewer.
And, yeah, as Bo says at the end, thank you. I feel a lot worse.
Yeah, that was really good. This, who was Hal Linden? This and the Hal Linden backstage, like dressing room cheer up a Muppet songs were so tongue in cheek. I really liked that vibe from both of them.
Yeah, and I feel like it's happened before. I'm trying to remember when exactly, but I feel like there's been a few other ones where they sort of were like that. Fozzie had one where afterwards it was just like, thanks, I don't feel any better.
Yeah, I don't remember what that was either, but yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because I think early on in the first couple seasons, they tried to be like very sincere with those cheer up songs of like, hey, don't you feel better now, Gonzo? And he's like, I do.
Yeah,
Thanks. Candice Bergen or whoever. But nowadays, they sort of recognize the cliche and the cheesiness and lean into that. But it's time for a veterinarian's hospital again in the dark because they have not actually solved the fuse problem yet. And so they have a patient there who was apparently electrocuted with 10,000 volts.
This fool's just dead, though.
He's so dead. The entire sketch. That is just a puppet laying horizontal with its mouth agape.
Eyes wide open, mouth wide open.
No movement whatsoever. There's never been a more dead Muppet on stage. Even they previously had a sketch at a vet's hospital, I think, where a Muppet was underneath the blanket the entire time. And I think we commented then that like that's just a dead Muppet. But this is a dead Muppet on full view for everyone to look at.
A corpse. Yeah. I mean, we've had like skeletons and ghosts, and this one is way more dead than them.
Yeah, this one's more concerning because it doesn't look like usually when there's a quote-unquote dead Muppet, at least somebody's hand is in there doing something.
Yeah.
This feels like they just took a Muppet out of the closet and laid it down, and nobody did anything with it.
Yeah. And there's not even any reason for him to not be moving.
No. They say there's still hope for him. Like he just got electrocuted, and they need to help him out. And now Bunsen Honeydew is here with a much better idea than Scooter's, because he's actually an inventor. He has a portable beaker-powered generator, which is Beaker running on a big ol' hamster wheel to generate power for the theater.
This is a great effect, the hamster wheel thing.
Right? You feel like Beaker is running.
Uh-huh.
It seems like Beaker is running, even though you know he doesn't have legs.
He got no legs, and there's a guy down there.
Yeah, there's one guy with a big old crank spinning that wheel, and there's another guy with a beaker puppet just going, yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I liked about this episode is something I mentioned in the summary is that there's a lot of moments with all of the core Muppet characters in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everybody gets like even Swedish Chef, like everybody gets a little moment to be their character, which doesn't happen very often. I feel like Kermit interacting with Bunsen and Beaker and them doing like a invention thing maybe has never really happened, or has happened like once before, where they're like being the scientists behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah, I do like this because like we see almost in a, I'm gonna say Muppet Vision-y. It sort of feels
Yeah.
like a little bit of like this backstage pre-show kind of thing that we're watching where they're gearing up for something. But yeah, I think, season 5, they're kind of nailing it. Even the episodes that we sort of might give 3 stars or whatever, I think as far as the vibe of who these Muppets are and how they gel together, they've got that locked down. And the Swedish Chef is checking in because now that they've got power, we're just going to get a regular Swedish Chef sketch.
Yeah. When's the last time that happened?
Well, and it's also very strange, an episode that is so tied to the central theme of the lights going on and out, like on and off, that we just get, like, when they restore the power, the first thing they think to do is, I guess we just do a Swedish Chef? Like,
Yeah.
Because there's no part of the Swedish Chef sketch that is affected by the power.
Right.
Whereas everything else leading up to this moment has had something happen with the power. But no, he just comes out and he's going to make a lighter than air souffle. And it rises and flies away, and he shoots it with a bow and arrow.
Classic.
But then backstage, getting ready for the final number, Buddy Rich meets his drum battle companion, Animal, who is a little bit back to his earlier days. He is on his chain leash again. Floyd is keeping him at bay, and he may want to kill Buddy. Looked it up. The person who drums for Animal, his name is Ronnie Verrell, Verrell. Verrell. He was apparently a very famous big band drummer who did all the drumming for
interesting.
Animal.
I bet they knew each other.
I think so, yeah. There was actually a quote from Buddy Rich that said something like, I really enjoyed being on the Muppet Show, especially drumming with my friend Ronnie.
That's cool.
Yeah. And yeah, then we just get a really impressive drum battle. But yeah, overall, pretty good episode. I just don't like Buddy Rich much at all. But the drum battle was very good.
Yeah, there just wasn't like a moment in this one that lagged, really. Except the UK spot. It was kind of nice that the worst parts of these episodes were all cut out of Disney Plus.
Which is not the case in our next episode.
Yeah.
The May 23rd, 1981 Marty Feldman episode of The Muppet Show. Sam, what'd you rate it?
I gave this one a big 5 stars.
What the
man.
hell?
It was a triple 5-star episode for me.
This is a 3-starer for sure.
Okay.
I did not really enjoy this one.
Oh, I thought it was fun.
This one just kind of happened to me while I watched it. It was just kind of like, so we're still doing this? Huh? All right, okay.
I feel that way about like the Alice. So I usually hate this kind of episode that's like a concept episode, like Alice in Wonderland or the Robin Hood one. This one was stupid enough and like bad enough on purpose that it felt like a Muppet Show. Like they should always not be good.
See, I think at points this one felt bad to me in a way of like, we don't have time to do it again, so let's just keep going.
Okay.
And some of the times when his wig is falling off and he's just sort of like,
I liked when
doing
his wig
things.
fell off.
Right, but it didn't feel like part of the plan, and so it just sort of felt to me like they were just like, yeah, it's fine, keep going.
I like the way that it felt like he came onto the Muppet Show and told the Muppets like, I want to do 1001 Arabian Nights, and they were like, oh, okay, and then he's like the one in control of all of it. I liked that feeling of it.
I do like this idea that he gets to be more involved, as opposed to, I'm forgetting who it was, but the guest when they did the Robin Hood themed episode where she barely got to be part of it.
It does make me wonder when there's guests who are really involved like this. It does make me wonder, like, did they all have the option of being this involved? And a lot of people were just like, I don't know. I don't want to be in this too much. Just get me out of here.
Yeah, especially for things like this where it's such a big concept. Like, I don't think they would have thrown this together in a few days. So I wonder if they had this idea to do the Arabian Nights thing and maybe they kept pitching it to people who didn't want to do it. Because it feels like maybe we wouldn't have had enough time if Marty Feldman came in and said, I want to do Arabian Nights. And they'd have to go, well, shit.
That's true.
All right,
That's
let's
true.
do
That's
this.
a good point. Yeah. I would imagine maybe he also helped them with the script or something. possibly like a comedy writer. Or
Oh,
at
I
least would
definitely
come
think
with a bunch of ideas.
I think a lot of his parts, for sure,
Yeah.
did not feel very Muppet Show writing. They felt very like
Yeah.
almost Mel Brooks level.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it does say on Muppet Wiki that this episode was initially conceived as using a theme of different historical periods, but that this idea was passed on due to the possible similarities to A History of the World Part 1, the Mel Brooks movie. We should also mention again that this episode, very unsurprisingly, has a negative depictions, mistreatment, stereotype warning at the beginning of it because the entire thing is based on Arabian Nights. And so almost every Muppet throughout this is dressed in some sort of Middle Eastern costume. Some are doing accents. So there's a lot going on here. Starting right off the bat with Kermit, who comes out it's just in a turban, a vest, some big old pants.
Finest. Yeah.
And yeah, that's when he reveals that this entire night will be devoted to Arabian Nights. And the story begins with a Swedish chef playing an evil caliph. The story they're telling is not exactly one-to-one the 1001 Arabian Nights stories. The actual story that a lot of this is based on is a story about Shahryar, who is a mythological ruler of the Persian Empire. And they say that the evil caliph had 1,000 wives, and every night one has to tell him a story, and if he doesn't like it, he'll cut off their head. But then,
which, that's the story of 1001 Arabian Nights.
Yes, kinda.
It's like it was kind of a more sanitized version of the story of 1001 Arabian Nights.
Yes.
He was just cutting off their heads no matter what back in the book.
Yeah, still kept the head cutting, but sanitized the mentions of virgins.
Yeah, not as many virgin shout-outs in this one.
Yeah, but then Princess Scheherazade shows up smoking a cigarette and played by Marty Feldman. But the actual sort of traditional story is that Shahryar is betrayed by his wife, who cheats on him, and then his brother is cheated on by his wife. And so the two of them are like, all women suck.
All wives' heads have to be cut off.
Yes, and women will always betray you. So every night for 3 years, he takes a wife and then has her executed the next morning. But then the kingdom starts to run out of virgins. So then he marries Scheherazade, the vizier's daughter. The vizier's name is Jafar, who you might recognize from the movie Aladdin.
I know that guy.
Yeah. And so for 1001 nights in a row, Scheherazade tells him a story, but she cleverly stops at a cliffhanger every night, thus forcing him to keep her alive for another day so that she can complete the story the next day. And then after 1001 stories, Scheherazade tells him that she has no more stories, but fortunately for her and her head, he has grown older and wiser in like this 2.5 years, I guess, and now trusts women and loves her, and then they get married. But what we are getting throughout this episode is Marty Feldman's Scheherazade telling the stories to Swedish chef's caliph. Lots of characters playing characters within stories within stories in this. But we transition into Kermit dressed as Sinbad, who has a frog crew and is looking for a treasure. But then there is Sweetums, the evil genie protecting the treasure, who they trick him pretty easily.
I really liked this one because it reminded, when Kermit came out with his little frog crew, it really brought me back to the days when Kermit was kind of just a frog who had a bunch of frog friends. And I think at the time I was like, oh, I want real Kermit. But now it's kind of quaint to see him in his natural element more.
With his Frog Prince fountain crew where they're all just hanging out.
Yeah, I like those guys.
Yeah, here they have to convince Sweetums that they are the surfing frogs, not the thieving frogs. And so they sing the Beach Boys' Surfing USA.
They do a good job, too. Beach Boys songs are hard to sing.
Yeah, you can hear Richard Hunt being the falsetto voice in the background.
He's like, I got this one. Don't worry about it, guys.
It is funny always when they do sing a really popular song and they sing it like, I don't know, more exact than the singers normally do. So like you understand every lyric of the song very clearly.
I was like, oh, that's what they're saying in Surfing USA a couple times.
But you're like, oh, it like loses a little bit of that smoothness from the actual Beach Boys version.
But it's like, oh, bushy blonde hairdo. That's it. Okay, I've never understood that word.
There's also a revelation for me in this. At one point, they reference Hang 10. And
Yes.
Kermit says that we don't have toes. We have flippers. We can't hang 10. And I went, wait a minute. Is Hang 10
That's
about
the 10?
toes?
That's the 10.
Which
makes so much sense in retrospect.
absolutely, I had never questioned what Hang 10 might mean. But
Yeah.
what else could it mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it just means like hanging your toes over the edge of the surfboard, I guess. But then backstage, Marty Feldman needs an Aladdin for his next story. And who better than Gonzo the Great to play Aladdin? Marty also plays the genie who comes out of the lamp. And Gonzo wants to be a sultan with a harem of dancing chickens.
It's yeah. Then it happens, and a bunch of chickens dance around for a while.
Yeah. That's what I think maybe this overall episode is just like a little bit of, and then that happened.
It is kind of a lot. That's what when I was doing my summary, I was just like, they just do it, and then like nothing really in particular happens. They just tell a bunch of stories.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I liked it though, because it's skits and not songs more. I think that's probably why I glommed onto this one a little bit more.
Well, we do have
The next thing's a song, and I didn't understand what they were saying in this either.
Well, the next thing is a UK spot where they sing The Girlfriend of the Whirling Dervish. The basis of this song is that the Whirling Dervish's girlfriend is cheating on him with everybody in town.
Yeah.
But one of the verses that they sing in this episode is, he dreams of a Hindu honeymoon. He doesn't dream that every night when he goes out to make an honest rupee. She steps out to make a lot of whoopee.
Wow. It is a very sexually charged song.
Yeah. When they started singing it, I paused to like look up the lyrics of this song to see like what it was. And I read that verse and was like, well, obviously they're not going to sing that verse. And they did. They say the words, step out to make a lot of whoopee.
Yeah,
on
it's
the Muppet
just
Show.
for British people. British people can show everything on TV and talk about everything too, you know?
That's true.
They show penises on British TV, man. It's true.
Then the episode takes a twist. There's a little M. Night Shyamalan twist in this episode where the next story that Scheherazade is going to tell is the story of Orville and Wilbur Wright, the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk. We go to a patent office where Sam the Eagle is playing the patent officer. And this is, not modern day, but definitely more modern day than what we've been watching throughout this episode. Yeah. And I think this one is just so chaotic and weird and goes off the rails in a good way that it doesn't matter that none of it makes sense.
Yeah, it was similar to the pirate Pigs in Space sketch that I really still like a lot, where I think the Muppets do so well with sketch comedy like this, and they're so flexible and there's so many different things they can do that when they get to actually do it, it's refreshing because they don't usually get to do this kind of thing. And it ends with a police officer shooting himself in the head.
But yes, it does. At one point, a police officer picks up a phone and a gunshot comes through the phone, and we just see a Muppet get shot right in the head.
Yep, he doesn't get back up, I don't think, to sing the number with
I don't think
them.
so. But it's time for our final story of the evening. The story of Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. Except, we gotta do
The
4.
budget cuts.
Yeah.
They're living in Joe Biden's America.
Wow.
Inflation's run wild.
Wow. Yeah, we can only afford 4 thieves due to budget problems. But then, oops, one also went homesick.
Yeah.
So we got 3 thieves for the story of Alibaba.
Then somewhere along the way that gets transposed with the 3 bears. I didn't quite follow that part.
I think that's Fozzie's mistake.
Okay.
I think that's Fozzie who is confused at what he's supposed to be doing.
Sure.
So we have a little Marty Feldman-looking puppet playing Alibaba here, who has Old Paint the horse with him, and they're going through the jungle, the forests, and says something along the lines of like, "These woods are dangerous. There's thieves around here." And that's when the bears come out and reveal themselves to be the 3 bears, along with Fozzie. And then they are like, nope, not the 3 bears. We're supposed to have 3 thieves. And he's like, shit. Sorry about that. We'll go fix this. We'll be back. And so Fozzie goes backstage. They're now dressed in like 40s gangster outfits to play the thieves. And this is when he learns, Scooter tells him, that they're heating up oil. That's where everyone has disappeared to because they're going to cook the thieves in oil.
Like, for real, I guess.
Including Fozzie, yeah. They actually, yeah. There's not a lot of, like, real story to that. Just, like, Fozzie goes backstage to talk to Kermit to figure out what's going on with the story. Scooter's like, oh, everyone's out in the alley heating up the oil that we're going to cook you in. And Fozzie asks, well, when is this going to happen? And Scooter says, right before the final number. And so Fozzie decides to speed up the closing number to avoid the oil. Very smart. And so he decides that they need more people for the closing number. So he says, open sesame. And the cave opens. And suddenly, Kermit, Gonzo, and the chickens, and a bunch of other people, all join in. And then Fozzie says, all right, one more time. Open sesame. Except he doesn't if you're watching on Disney+.
Yeah.
If you're watching on Disney+, it instead cuts to the stage where Marty Feldman, Fozzie, and inexplicably the Count, Cookie Monster, Bert and Ernie, and Grover are all there singing along. But if you find the full version of this episode, again, on that compilation I mentioned earlier, or if you have it on a DVD or something else, what actually happens is that Fozzie says one more time, open sesame, and then the cave opens up and the Sesame Street Muppets come sauntering out and they start singing the theme song to Sesame Street, which is apparently the reason this is cut.
Too illegal to be in Disney+.
And they all sing along, Fozzie's singing it, and then he's like, all right, let's go to the stage and finish this song. And that's when they all transition over to the stage.
Yeah.
I just feel like you could have cut this a little better. Like the way it's cut on Disney Plus is so confusing.
I would love to know the perspective on this from somebody who doesn't know anything about like stuff being cut out of Disney Plus.
Because yeah, if you just, the Muppet Show came on Disney Plus last year, you're like, finally I can watch all these old Muppet Show episodes. You put this on and you're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, which has happened a few times throughout, but this is one of the more extreme examples.
Well, especially because it's characters you would immediately recognize.
Yeah.
So when Cookie Monster just suddenly shows up on the Muppet Show without any explanation,
yeah,
you're going to be confused. But then, as you said, that ends. That happened. It is the end of the show. Marty Feldman comes out. Kermit's still dressed as Sinbad. Marty Feldman has a nice little, he's clapping and he says, let's hear it for us.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. It's just as he's like walking out to the stage, he just like claps for himself. And then Marty says that his favorite part of the time on this show was meeting his favorite Muppet, to which Kermit is immediately flattered. But Marty corrects him.
Whose favorite Muppet is Kermit? Realistically.
I think there's a lot of people whose favorite Muppet is Kermit.
That's a default option.
But no, his favorite Muppet is Cookie Monster. And they stick their faces side by side with their
googly eye guys.
Their googly eyes. And he says, I don't know what it is about him. I just like him.
Cookie Monster is really great.
Well, and then all the other Muppets come out. And Kermit says that he's had a big effect on the cast. And you see that everyone has Marty Feldman-like eyes.
Yeah. That's a little unsettling.
I think they picked the right Muppets for it. Like, I think if Miss Piggy had come out, that'd be too much.
Yeah.
But I think having Gonzo and some of the other characters they have come out with the sort of the crossed eyes, I think is okay. Yeah. But I was trying to picture what Miss Piggy might look like with Marty Feldman eyes, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, her eyes can pretty much only just be one way.
And now I have to Photoshop that and see what it looks like. But I'm not going to enjoy it. And then, the very end of the episode, during the credits, there's a nice little moment that you hear Gonzo start talking to Cookie Monster. And I didn't catch all of what he says, but at one point he gestures towards Kermit and he says, do you know him?
Huh?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah. It's like Gonzo is meeting Cookie Monster for the first time. And it's like those moments when you watch like the end of SNL when the celebrity is like actually saying hi to like Kyle Mooney or somebody for like the first time. And they're like, oh, hey, friend, we can hug now. We've worked together.
Yeah.
This felt like that of Gonzo and Cookie Monster being like, hey, you.
Kermit's work friends are meeting his real friends too.
Yeah. Or I guess his other work friends.
Oh, Kermit and Sesame Street is always like, he's always just taking her easy, He's just at his house minding his own business most of the time.
He's a reporter. That's a whole other career.
Well, yeah, but That's not on Sesame Street. That's a different job he has. Has nothing to do with Sesame Street. That's just his that pays the bills. But then when he's on Sesame Street, he's either just out on the street being like, "Hey, what's up? Yeah, I know how to count to 3."
What a busy guy.
Or he's like in his house and Grover's like, "Hey, you want to buy this?" He's like, "No, thanks."
This is why he doesn't have any time to be in a relationship with Miss Piggy. He's a journalist by day. He's a Muppet Show host by night. In between, he needs his time. He's got to relax and just wait for Grover to bust in.
Yeah, he's got to be there for Grover.
Do you think they had to fly the puppets over to London, or did Jim and Frank just have like spares in London with them?
I bet they have some.
You think?
I bet they have some. That's my guess.
Like just in case they decide to do this? What reason would they have for needing them in London?
Because Sesame Street's all over the world. So maybe they just have them if they have to go do a spot. Like they're doing an interview or... I don't know. They invented those characters. I just feel like the workshop would have a copy of them too. Maybe.
Yeah, I didn't like notice any big differences between this Bert and a Sesame Street Bert or anything. So I don't know if they were rebuilt for this, but yeah, it just in thinking about that of like the fact that they have these core Muppets like the Count and Bert and Ernie, Cookie Monster and Grover, and they also have a few sort of like whatnots, like anything Muppets from Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Who aren't really specific characters and who I guess they needed characters for.
Maybe you're right.
Like, yeah, I don't know. It's curious because they also have like 3 Frank Oz characters, 1 Jim, and 1 Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Maybe now I'm more on the side of just like they called Sesame Street and said, just send us some guys. Because those are very specifically Sesame Street whatnots.
Well, we'll probably never know. So we should probably move on to our Muppet of the Week. This week's Muppet of the Week is Gaffer the Cat.
Oh, okay.
Is Gaffer a boy? Is Gaffer a girl? We don't know. No one ever really uses appropriate pronouns consistently for Gaffer. So I'll use they, them for Gaffer for now. Muppet Wiki uses it because it's a cat a lot. So
seems rude, though.
Everywhere I looked, sometimes people who worked on the show said she. Other times, very clearly he. So... who knows? But Gaffer the Cat, again, unsurprisingly, not a ton to say about Gaffer the Cat. Gaffer the Cat doesn't even get a character encyclopedia page. Which,
oh, no.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous because much less frequently occurring characters have.
Yes. I mean, like the chickens have an entire page to themselves, as do the rats and birds. And you can't give Gaffer a page, an actual named cat. Gaffer's name, though, comes from the book The Art of the Muppets and was referred to as Gaffer the Backstage Cat. But apparently, some Muppet Show fan club newsletters referred to Gaffer simply as, quote, theater cat. So Gaffer's name was sort of like used inconsistently back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
For those that don't know Gaffer, they are the one-eyed eye patch wearing cat that hangs out on their little perch backstage.
But only in the season 5, right?
Season 4 is when Gaffer first appeared.
Okay.
But yes, mostly season 5 throughout is on their little perch. And Gaffer is named after the role of a chief lighting technician on a film set, who's the head of the electrical department. So Gaffer is a role of like, they would have a Gaffer on the Muppet Show. And according to Kathy Mullen, who is Gaffer's main performer, who we previously had referenced that it felt like Kathy Mullen's talents were being wasted on just using Gaffer on a perch, turns out there was sort of a reason for Kathy Mullen to be assigned to Gaffer. Because she said, quote, Jim wanted a cat, and he said, give that to her, let her practice. That was his way of making it easy for me to get really used to the monitor and following things, and it was a little training exercise. It was very effective. What I do remember is that it was an exercise in paying attention the whole time, because when I was in the background, I couldn't go dead. There was all kinds of stuff happening in the foreground. There were 3 cameras, so I couldn't go dead, and then, oops, I'm in this one, and I had to stay alive the whole time. So what she means there is obviously, like, if you're not in the shot or you're not in frame, you could let your puppet go limp, or you could rest your arm, or whatever. But because Gaffer is constantly in the background of the Muppet Show, she had to not only be watching the monitor, see what's happening, and react to, like, characters walking by her, but also stay like an active moving cat the whole time, which you noticed included Gaffer licking
her
themselves.
butt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? She also worked on Yoda, so show her a little respect. Come on.
So yeah, Gaffer first appeared in the season 4 Linda Carter episode. I believe Gaffer's first appearance was the one where, like they sort of walk backstage and Sam is for some reason disgusted by them.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, there's a bunch of freaks back here.
Yeah.
And that's one of the freaks that
I guess a
walks
cat
by.
with an eye patch is disgusting to him.
It's kind of gross. Gaffer is nasty looking.
I like Gaffer. I think Gaffer might be like one of my favorite weird Muppet designs. But Gaffer does kind of disappear after the 80s. They'll show up in Great Muppet Caper and Muppet Steak Manhattan. And the last thing they actually showed up on screen in was the Muppet Review, which is a Best of the Muppet Show VHS from 1985 that they filmed like little interstitial things for between the sketches.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the last time Gaffer showed up anywhere. So I feel like Gaffer is sort of due for a renaissance.
Is Gaffer in that, or is it just a clip with Gaffer?
No, Gaffer is in the background of some of the
okay.
some of the
interstitials?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the last print appearance of Gaffer was back in 2010 in some of the comic books, which again, a lot of characters pop up in the comic books because they are set on the Muppet Show, and a lot of people are just hanging around in the background. But yeah, as far as I know, the only performer of Gaffer was Kathy Mullen. That might have changed from time to time, but I could not find any reference to anybody else performing Gaffer. And unlike a lot of other Muppets, Gaffer has the ability to blink with their one good eye, which is, again, used to just sort of add life to that cat, which, again, as we mentioned multiple times, is really well done in the background and usually just does add a little bit of something interesting happening in the background of the otherwise, like, the normal action that's happening backstage.
It's almost weird in retrospect to think that cat wasn't there the whole time.
Right, and it's weirder in the Gene Kelly episode when they have Foo-Foo on the shelf instead of Gaffer, when it's like, well, what happened to Gaffer?
Yeah.
And the last little fun fact I have about Gaffer here, which is something I believe we also mentioned once before, but for some unknown reason, in 1985, they put out a Muppet Babies Color Forms 3D playset, and included in that playset of Color Forms is a baby Gaffer, which is basically just like a small gray version of Gaffer, still with an eye patch.
That's adorable and very strange.
Mm-hmm. We've seen that a few times with Muppet merch, where they suddenly just like add in a character who has no reason to be there. Or there was that one sticker set where they added in a wolf character who never existed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would love to know what the thought process behind that was. It's probably just somebody like us who's like, I love the Muppet Show. Remember that cat? I have space for one more sticker. I will draw that cat.
Well, and from what I remember reading is that Jim was very much into approving all of the Muppet merch. And so the idea that he would sign off on things like that is curious to me. And I'm just wondering, like, where in the process are they like, yeah, sure, whatever, that weird wolf, why not?
Yeah. Maybe some of them slipped through the cracks.
He had a lot on his plate that day, and he was like, fine, whatever, a wolf. But yeah, that is it for Gaffer the cat. Again, I just want to talk about a lot of these Muppet Show specific Muppets while we're still on the Muppet Show. So some of them don't have as much information about them, but I did want to give some time to Gaffer the cat because I know they are beloved. But how about by you, Sam? What would you rate Gaffer the cat?
I kind of love Gaffer. I like seeing Gaffer back there doing their thing. I think I'll give Gaffer an 8.
Wow. I was going to go 7, and I thought that was high, but, I'm going to join you.
I love cats, I'm a cat guy.
You are a cat guy. I will join you in an 8.
Cheers to you, Gaffer. One of the best Muppets, apparently, according to us.
Yeah, Gaffer's up there with, like, Gonzo now.
Yeah.
All right, well, before we go, Sam, I need to check in with you and ask, have you had time to watch or enjoy any non-Muppet things this week?
I was mostly filling my free time this week with Splatoon 3.
Ooh, new video game on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. Well, new in quotes. It's just Splatoon 2 with, different levels.
Isn't that what most video game sequels are?
This Splatoon, more so than other ones, feels that way to me because it has such like the settings are always like a city, so it always feels like the same place. And sometimes it is the same place. There's just a distinct, like, a lot of this is just like a retread. Where Mario, he can go to different worlds and he can jump on different guys' heads and stuff. But that being said, I love Splatoon. Splatoon's so fun, and everybody who plays it's 12, so you can actually be good at it. And the single player, I feel like, is an overlooked part of Splatoon that's always really fun. Because it's basically like a puzzle game if you're playing the single player levels, with like a really strange backstory that you kind of slowly unravel as you play them. Is kind of like the theme in all of them. But yeah, Splatoon 3, it's great. I like it. If you're scared of multiplayer, or if you like, I'm sometimes scared. I'm scared of some games multiplayers, like Overwatch or something, where someone's going to scream at you. Nobody can talk to you in Splatoon, which is great, but it's still kind of hard, and it's like a unique game that you have to be good at, or else you don't have any fun at all.
Yeah, no, I definitely I mute all games where people can talk to me.
Yeah, me too.
I don't let anybody talk to me on my video games unless they're a friend.
If I'm playing a shooting game, yeah, I'm just talking to Wilbur basically, or like some of my friends. Yeah. How about you? What are you watching?
I caught up on She-Hulk, but that's about it, really.
Yeah, didn't have a lot of not a lot of content consumed this week.
What are you thinking about She-Hulk?
I really like She-Hulk.
Same. I am in the camp of I am glad Marvel is doing something different.
Yeah.
Which is like, seems to be what people are pissed about, is that this ain't my Marvel. She's twerking.
That's like, have you ever read any comic book? Every Marvel comic book is like different. They're all weird.
Yeah,
everybody's got their own weird thing.
Yeah, I don't want She-Hulk to act like Captain America. Like, I don't want every character to act the same. And
we've got like 5 other kind of bad shows where they all acted the same. So I'm kind of ready for.
Well, and I'm also certain, if you go back and look through some of those early Marvel movies, that there are ridiculous, weird moments that would seem cringy if they came out in a new thing now, that people would go, oh, I can't believe they're making Tony Stark do that. And it's like, yeah, like, I don't know. He mentions MySpace, I think, in the first one.
Yeah.
So
he talks to Elon Musk in the second one.
Yeah. Elon. Yeah, but I think the same people who are mad about She-Hulk love Elon Musk. So
no, that's probably true.
I think there's
the Elon Musk thing, when I rewatched Iron Man 2, the Elon Musk thing is kind of like, they kind of make fun of him a little bit in kind of a satisfying way.
Well, because
maybe at the time was like, he's so rich and cool, it's okay to make fun of him. But now it's like, this guy was an idiot the whole time.
Well, my understanding is that he paid his way into that movie.
Oh, really?
I think that's
So they busted his chops a little bit?
I think it was sort of like I will invest in your movie if I can be in your movie. So here's millions of dollars.
Yeah. But yeah, I think She-Hulk feels like, I think She-Hulk and Miss Marvel to a certain extent, they feel like we're coming off of the troubled COVID production kind of thing. Like Captain America and Winter Soldier felt like the peak of like, this was a big thing, but then like COVID kind of made you rescale your plans, and you can feel when it's on a tiny set. But She-Hulk feels like they're doing exactly what they set out to do in a way that some of the other ones feel a little bit more compromised, I guess.
Yes, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think especially when it comes to just the character of Jennifer and She-Hulk, I feel like they went in with a very clear idea of what they wanted to do with that character and who she was going to be. And
yeah. Tatiana Maslany is just amazing also.
Yeah. No, it's good job, Marvel. You done did it again, regardless of what some of the internet has to say.
But yeah, she is like one of the first characters of this new phase or whatever that I'm like, I'm excited to see you again and again. Kind of like Ant-Man. It's like I was excited to see Ant-Man again and again. I'm excited to see Shang-Chi again and again too. But like Miss Marvel, She-Hulk is like cool. I like you as a potential anchor of this universe.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping we get more and more of that soon, of the other characters showing up in each other's stuff. Cause
that's the thing that people are always like, oh, that's so stupid about Marvel. But that's like the whole point of watching Marvel stuff. I feel like if you're complaining about, oh, the connected universe is too confusing, then I don't know, maybe it's not for you. But for me, it's always a waste, I feel like, when at the end it's like, not one other character showed up in this. Come on. That's how Moon Knight felt.
Well, and I think you can do the show where like it doesn't feel like anybody else is going to show up. It feels like a closed off world. But so many of these things tease it or set it up as if it's going to connect to a bigger world and then doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Moon Knight ran into a little bit of issues. Is it just kept feeling like something was just outside of what was happening? Of like, just you wait, something cool's going to happen.
Totally.
And then it was just like, oh, that's it, I guess. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, you're right.
So before we go, we will let you know what we are watching next time. Next week, you might think we'd be wrapping up the Muppet Show since we only have 2 more episodes to discuss, but no, you would be wrong.
You fools. We'll never stop.
We're going to stretch this out forever. But it turns out that the Muppets made a TV special in 1981 called The Muppets Go to the Movies that aired before the end of season 5. So next week, we will be watching and discussing The Muppets Go to the Movies from May 20th, 1981. And you can find that on YouTube. We need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to commitment.com to get an enamel pin or check out our Patreon or just listen to episodes. You can also email us at mail@commitment.com to let us know when Xanadu came out. And you can follow this podcast on Twitter at commitmentpod, or you can follow me on the internet at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.